Hello friends, Tom Downey here for NFL Daily. Got a fun show for you guys today. We got some highlights coming up, but first, quite a bit of trade stuff to discuss. Patrick Peterson, perhaps the NFL's very best cornerback, well, he doesn't want to be in Arizona anymore. Adam Schefter reports that Pat Pete has demanded a trade from the Arizona Cardinals and that he desperately wants out of Arizona. Now, with that said, the Cardinals have said they will not trade Peterson. Of course, it's what the Raiders said about Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, so take that with a grain of salt. Now, Patrick Peterson, if he does get moved, I think would demand quite a hefty return for Arizona. He's under contract through the 2020 season, is only going to make about $11 million next year, and frankly, he is one of the, if not the outright best cornerbacks in the NFL. He has immense value, he shuts down one half of the field, and he's only 28 years old. So Amari Cooper, or sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself there, Patrick Peterson, if he does get traded, I think he would command quite a hefty return. Now, we'll keep in mind the Khalil Mack trade, for example. 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a sixth, and they did give up a second in exchange for that, the Bears did. So you're looking, I think, at least one first-round pick, because that's what Amari Cooper got in exchange with the Dallas Cowboys and Oakland Raiders earlier today. So for Peterson, I think you're looking at a first-round pick and then some more. Maybe it's a couple second or third rounders. Maybe it's an extra first-round pick as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. And we'll take you now here to some teams that could trade for Patrick Peterson. Now, we've got 5 of them, my top 5. But I do want to make note here of one that I know you guys will mention in the comments section. That is the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know the Saints would love Patrick Peterson because guess what? Every team in the NFL would love Pat Pete. And I know Pat Peterson would love to go to the Saints because, hey, he gets to go back home and gets to play again for his hometown team. Remember, he went to LSU. The issue is the Saints have no money. They've got $2 million in cap space, and they need about $6 million to afford Patrick Peterson for the rest of the season. And they completely lack the draft assets. No 2019 first-round pick and no third-round pick. So it makes sense for Pat and the Saints from that perspective, but from the actual return for Arizona, I don't think it makes sense. So that's why the Saints do not crack my top 5. It's fun, it makes sense in your head, but I don't think it makes sense on paper from a draft value perspective. Now, 5 teams that could trade number 5, I have the New England Patriots. And remember, New England has an extra second-round pick from Chicago, and beyond Stephon Gilmore, they're kind of hurting a little bit at cornerback. And I'll mention this with Bill Belichick. He's not afraid to go get more cornerback help, is he? He already put big money in Gilmore. You can afford Pat Pete if you're in New England. You got plenty of picks, and you can bench Eric Rowe altogether. You can, cut Cross and whatever you want there. Now, again, it's going to cost the Patriots quite a bit. So here's my proposed trade package. Let me know what you guys think. The Patriots, of course, they get Pat Pete. A lot of P's there. The Cardinals get a first-round pick, a second-round pick of New England's, and a second-round pick from the Chicago Bears via the Anthony Miller trade. So who says no to this? Is it too much for the Patriots, or is it not enough for Arizona, or do we have a deal? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and we'll get to 4 more teams. But first, folks, I am hosting a weekly NFL Pick'em game on BetDSI. Sign up is free. If you come in first place, we'll hook you guys up with $25. Chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code LIVE120. Then DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney to get the game link. First place, $25, free to sign up. You're not going to get a better deal than that one. All right, speaking of deals, here's another team that could trade for Patrick Peterson. The Houston Texans, and a very common theme on this list, by the way, folks, they have an extra second-round pick. And Houston, who's their number 1 guy? Kareem Jackson has moved back from corner after being at safety after Andre Hall's diagnosis of cancer. And by the way, Hall is now cleared to play, which is great for him. Jonathan Joseph, well, he's old and not that great. Aaron Colvin is a good nickel. Who's your number 1 corner? You're back in the mix now. Maybe you go get aggressive with all that extra cap space that you have. So here's my trade on this one. All right, the Texans get Pat Pete, obviously. Arizona gets that first-round pick, the second-rounder from Houston, and a second-round pick from Seattle. And actually, in the end, I think all 3 of those picks would end up being higher than the Patriots. Even with Patrick Peterson, who here thinks Houston's better than New England? Didn't think so. So from that perspective, it's a little bit more value for Arizona. All right, number 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And unlike other teams, the other teams, the Steelers lack extra picks, and that secondary has had issues all year long. Joe Hayden is not the same guy he once was. Artie Burns actually could maybe be included in the deal if you wanted to, because I don't know if he's a long-term fit. He hasn't been as good as I thought he could be for the Steelers. Mike Hilton, all right, Cam Sutton, whatever. Brian Allen's big, but hasn't done all that much. So Pittsburgh needs another secondary stud. Pat Pete provides that. I know it makes sense from Pittsburgh, but they don't have an extra second-round pick. So a different trade package here. 2 first-round selections. In the end, not quite as much as the Bears got or gave up for Khalil Mack, but Arizona, 2 first-round picks. Yeah, maybe they're in the mid to late 20s. It's decent return for Pat Pete. So again, let me know who says no. Type S for Steelers and type C for Cardinals. Into my top 2 now. At number 2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, look, another team with an extra second-round selection. And remember, not that long ago, before the injury, Kansas City had interest in adding, all right, they had interest in making a move for Earl Thomas. Now, that, of course, did not end up going down. And Kendall Forsberg, your number 1 guy, he plays plenty of nickel as well, though. He can stay there full-time if this trade goes down. You can bench Nelson or Skandrick, because neither of those guys, frankly, are really legit number 2 corners anymore. Maybe Skandrick stays in the lineup. Here's the trade package. A first-round pick, a second-round pick from KC, and a second-round pick from LA. Now, granted, there's a legitimate chance that both those second-round picks are 63 and 64. So maybe it doesn't make the most sense from that value compared to, say, a Patriots or Texans, but I think the Chiefs are in a little bit more of a position to go make a big splashy trade. They have the money to afford them, not a ton of it, but just enough to make it work. And you bring in Patrick Peterson, your defense is the problem, and you get Eric Berry back, all of a sudden that secondary goes from a big question mark to, hey, this is actually a pretty darn good defense back there. And with our loaded offense, maybe we just might be able to win the Super Bowl. That would be the move there for the Chiefs in terms of their mindset. Today's show was brought to you by BetDSI. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code LIVE120. Get yourself that 120% deposit bonus. Put that $100, they'll give you $120 for free for a grand total of $220 to bet with on BetDSI. You are playing with house money if you use LIVE120 as your promo code at chatsports.com/bet. All right, now time for my number 1 team. I actually think it makes a lot of sense for all parties involved. If you're Philadelphia, you've made it pretty clear you need cornerback help because Jalen Mills ain't it. They're very clearly shopping for cornerback help, and the Philadelphia Eagles, frankly more than any team out there right now, they are aggressive. They are not afraid to make trades, go out and spend a lot of money. They can make it work. They can afford Pat Pete. Now, next year they're going to have to cut some guys. That's okay. You have the NFL's maybe the best corner in the entire NFL with that move. You can bench Jalen Mills. Avonte Maddox is there on the depth chart too, but he's actually playing more safety these days, so we'll keep him on there. But for the Philadelphia, if a team actually pulls off a trade for Pat Pete, I think it's going to be the Eagles. They're the ones that are aggressive. They have an extra second-round pick via the Lamar Jackson trade with Baltimore. I wouldn't even be all that surprised if Philadelphia pulls off this crazy move and gets that cornerback, because the Cowboys have already shown they're apparently playing for the NFC East this year, which I find a little bit curious, but that's beside the point. But the Eagles are aggressive. They have the assets. They have just enough cap space. They can make it work. And if you bring in Pat Pete, you're going to lose Darby down the road. That's okay because you have a much better cornerback. Darby now becomes your number 2. The secondary gets a big boost that killed him against the Panthers. I think the Eagles make a lot of sense for Patrick Peterson. If he does end up getting dealt, I think Philadelphia is your most likely option, followed up by the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Houston Texans, and the New England Patriots at number 5.